Today's reading is Entity 9, Facelings, from the Backrooms Wiki. Entity ID 9, Habitat, Cosmopolitan, Class, Anthropoid, IETS 2B, Properties, Benevolent. Description: Facelings, also known as Entity 9, are a humanoid species which hardly requires introduction. A common sight across a multitude of levels, they are familiar to most anyone remotely acquainted with the Backrooms. These entities are primarily recognized for their striking similarity to humans, both in biology and behavior. The anatomical structure of Facelings strongly resembles that of a human's, though they do not appear to actually need internal organs to live or function. Facelings also mimic human practices, roles, and routines, often in a manner which exhibits limited understanding of their purposes in human life. Additionally, the creatures seem to mirror human population patterns. Facelings predominantly inhabit levels with urban environments and/or significant human populations, including level 11. Any level with even a trace of human architecture is likely to carry with it a faceling population. Moreover, the number of facelings is thought to be correlated to human population size. Though they have always been common, as humanity has proliferated across the Backrooms in recent years, facelings appear to have increased in abundance as well. History and evolution. Facelings have existed since ancient times. Their presence has been documented extensively over the ages, throughout ancient artwork, folklore, and written texts. In particular, the accumulated archives of the Lost suggest the species has been, and remains, in a process of evolution. Members of the group have kindly provided the MEG with various historical records of Entity 9, enough to allow for an in-depth examination of their evolution across the eons. The oldest illustration of facelings presently discovered depicts them as monstrous amalgamations of skin, flesh, mismatched body parts, and organs, rather similar to clumps. Development of the species thereafter is evident from brief excerpts of scriptures cited below, translated with the help of the Lost. These creatures are but a pale copy of humankind in flesh and bone, deformed abominations from the greater ones, kept in this place to separate them from us, who were their perfected form. That is, until we ourselves came crashing into this imperfect world, forced now to share with them the curse of this realm. Some say that they are evil spirits, luring the naive deep into the labyrinth till they are hopelessly lost, malevolent beings who steal the bodies of the dead. Others believe they are merely pitiful creatures lost between life and death, unfortunate souls kept from the afterlife, cursed to wander aimlessly evermore, far from their eternal rest. Excerpt from Tohameno Biblia tu Horu, Volume 1. The faceless ones are incapable of complex thought or feeling, merely wandering like flocks of sheep in search of grass. It is said that these creatures have committed such heinous acts that they have been stripped of their will, transformed into tormented monstrosities as punishment. Their bodies are incomplete and disfigured. They lack faces and skin. They lack sight and other senses. They are fragile and have no survival instinct whatsoever. They die daily, yet they remain just as abundant, replenishing their numbers at a rapid pace. These abominations must surely be avoided, as their bodies are filled with bad luck. One must not touch or interact with them to avoid being cursed by these twisted beings. It is believed that those who touch a faceless one will soon lose their mind and become just like them, mindless and disfigured. That must be how so many of them are given life so quickly. Excerpt from Tohameno Biblia Tohoru, Volume 5. The beings with no face are most likely tainted human beings corrupted by a great evil, who strayed from the path of honor and integrity, and chose to mingle with evil forces. Perhaps they were fooled by spirits that conquered their bodies and disfigured their flesh, or the product of relations between wicked humans and demons, who gave birth to abominations that belonged to nowhere else but this place. Contrary to the words and beliefs of our forefathers, it is evident today that these creatures are not malevolent, but simply ignorant and underdeveloped. Lacking both sight and intellect, they are powerless to cause any harm, and their presence is to be regarded as nothing but a trivial nuisance. Excerpt from Tohameno Biblia Tohoru, Volume 12. Initial sources described facelings as mindless yet often malevolent beings. However, detailed or individual accounts of facelings demonstrating hostility have never been recovered. Even today, there are only a few alleged reports of adult facelings retaliating in self-defense. Several theories have been proposed as explanations of the existence and evolutionary process of Entity 9. The most widely accepted of these posits that facelings are the Backrooms attempts at replicating humankind, ever since our race first manifested within its confines. The process is believed to be analogous to that of level generation. Just as many front rooms replica levels appear to be constructed with a resemblance to real front rooms locations, these entities are created in like fashion, as a facsimile of the human inhabitants of these places, though imperfectly warped and twisted, as these levels often are. Furthermore, though the attempts at replicating humans were initially deformed and not quite right, it is thought that the process of natural selection eventually began to occur. As imperfect specimens perished quickly, more well-developed specimens started taking over, driving the course of evolution through trial and error. This process has, moreover, resulted in diversification of the species, akin to genetic branching. There exists a plethora of distinct types of facelings today, with characteristics which vary widely between the types. Faceling types. Common facelings differ widely in hair color, skin tone, clothing, body shape, gender, age, and other physical traits. Even so, they retain many general similarities in appearance, resembling humans in most respects, apart from a lack of facial features. There exist, however, many particular kinds of facelings with notable major mutations, which are sufficient for each of them to be classed as distinct faceling types in themselves. Several of these eclectic variants have been documented below. Polygonal facelings. There are some facelings that do not possess regular human-like appearances, being wildly different from their common counterparts. One such bizarre variation is known as the polygonal faceling. As their name suggests, the bodies of these variants are composed of large, flat, polygonal surfaces. Though they remain roughly humanoid in shape, they appear much more awkward and boxy, bearing similarity to early three-dimensional video game characters. Their skin is rough, dry, and flaky to the touch. Evidence suggests that polygonal facelings receive their strange appearance through inadvertent no-clipping. The exact mechanics behind such an adverse reaction is unknown, but it is assumed that their already unstable body structures are unable to withstand the pressure of cross-dimensional travel. Shadow facelings. A variant known as shadow facelings has pitch-black spectral bodies. They tend to be found spontaneously levitating within darker regions of the backrooms. They also seem to be drawn towards sources of light. Compared to common facelings, these specimens are much more easily agitated. These facelings are prone to fright and defensive aggression in the presence of people, although they do not appear to possess the strength to cause significant harm. Furthermore, they are easily distracted with flashlights or torches, making them easy to evade. Many wanderers who have encountered these facelings have noted similarities in their behaviors to those of smilers. Even so, no relation between the two entities has yet been discovered. Memory facelings. Memory facelings are an exceptionally unique faceling variant. They are exceedingly rare, with under 20 documented and verified reports presently in existence, making research into their odd properties challenging. Facelings of this type are known to assume the appearance of loved ones of wanderers who are in close proximity, though naturally, they continue to lack facial features in this state. It is theorized that they access and respond to the memories of a wanderer in order to shift between different forms. Other than the physical change, these variants also seem to attempt to replicate the mannerisms and routines of the person they are attempting to mimic. The sight of long-lost loved ones can provoke rather emotional responses from wanderers who encounter this variant. Though some connection with the memory worm is suspected, there is presently no explanation for how memory facelings possess these abilities. Biology. As their outward appearance suggests, facelings anatomically resemble human beings, though malformed on the inside. Aside from their visible lack of facial features, most of their organs are severely underdeveloped and are usually only partially functional. Description of the creature's physiological processes is a complex task, as the exact bodily demands of facelings differ from specimen to specimen. However, in general, facelings do not even seem to need the organs they commonly lack in order to survive and operate. For example, though they have missing mouths and incomplete digestive tracts, they do not require food, and though they do not possess eyes, they can move around as if they were able to see. Instead, the half-formed organs of facelings appear to cause more harm than help. Though a faceling's organs do not contribute actively to their survival, they are prone to failure in their partially developed state, causing complications which can hurt or even kill the faceling. As a result of their dysfunction, organs have been known to rot, rupture, or grow tumors which overtake working bodily systems. A majority of facelings die naturally as a result of such organ failures. The life cycle of facelings is another subject of biological interest. Facelings have not been observed to procreate, but instead apparently come into being randomly, or spontaneously generate, in levels they inhabit. The physical appearance of any given faceling is not indicative of their actual age, as it is believed that the creatures may be generated to outwardly resemble any human age group. Following generation, facelings usually proceed to age as normal human beings do. Facelings resembling infants upon generation are often much more fully developed. This is most likely due to the relative simplicity of human infants in their anatomy compared to human adults. However, faceling infants also tend to die rather quickly, as their internal organs fail to develop beyond infancy, and are unable to sustain their growth. Facelings generated as children or adolescents face similar issues. They are often developmentally stunted, though a substantial proportion of them are able to mature and survive into late adulthood. Generated adult facelings face fewer complications, and are frequently able to survive into old age. Most significantly, some recent specimens of Entity 9 appear to have begun the final stage of evolutionary development. Occasional reports of facelings possessing aberrant facial organs, such as a single eye or ear, have existed for quite some time. However, in recent years, a marked number of facelings have begun to exhibit complete, though malformed, sets of facial features. Unlike their faceless counterparts, these evolved specimens seem to both possess and rely on more complete internal systems, which work well with the previously absent facial features. For instance, along with their noses, evolved Facelings have more complete respiratory systems and actively breathe air. Despite this, the newly evolved facial organs continue to suffer critical defects. The nostrils are usually partially fused together, causing severe respiratory problems. Though they are able to see and rely on sight to navigate, the eyeballs of these specimens are small and primitive, resulting in myopia. Their mouths lack any lips, and often remain wide open due to underdevelopment of the jaws. Their ears are also flattened, and produce excessive amounts of earwax, which obstruct the inner auditory canal, such that their hearing is limited. Apart from facial features, evolved Facelings present physiological developments in a few other key areas as well. As with ordinary Facelings, the hair on evolved Facelings' heads is fully present. Evolved specimens have, however, begun to develop additional body and facial hair. Eyebrows and eyelashes tend to be absent, such that their eyes remain susceptible to dirt and infection. Furthermore, remains of a few deceased individuals demonstrate fully formed skeletons, though they continue to exhibit the brittleness characteristic of the bones of regular Facelings. Behavior. Most Facelings are essentially docile. While their exact activities may vary, they tend to occupy themselves with attempts to replicate all manner of human roles and routines. The creatures have gone so far as to emulate human culture, traditions, and religious practices. Specimens have been frequently observed celebrating festivals such as Christmas or Halloween, wearing traditional clothing, and even engaging in behaviors resembling prayer. Yet in spite of this obsession, the creatures demonstrate a fundamental lack of understanding of human society, and often engage in activities with little sense of logic, intentionality, or higher purpose. A Faceling working as a cashier may willingly receive any sum of money, without regard for the actual value of a purchase. A Faceling office worker may perpetually remain at its desk, typing randomly on the keyboard of its unpowered computer terminal, never leaving to rest. A Faceling pedestrian may follow the same predetermined route through the streets, day after day, without variation and without question. The creatures have been observed to interact with one another rather amicably. In spite of their lack of sensory organs, they appear to clearly understand each other, and often attempt to replicate regular human social interactions, to varying degrees of success. Specimens have been observed waving to those whom they recognize, engaging in conversations, silence since they lack vocal cords, and pausing in their daily routines to help others in need. Within some levels, the entities even demonstrate intelligent collective behaviors. Facelings are known to form friendships or find romantic partners, and even establish large families, with adults adopting child Facelings as their own. However, Facelings are well known for being easily angered by even small disturbances. These emotional episodes can escalate to full-on outbursts, especially when they are intentionally assaulted. Facelings in this state are known to physically attack what aggravated them, as well as generally causing destruction to the surrounding environment. However, being physically weaker than most human adults, angry Facelings are relatively easy to evade. Psychological research has shown that entities seem to have poor impulse control and struggle with proper emotional regulation overall. This is almost certainly the cause of their poor assessment of and exaggerated response to perceived threats. Brain scans of Facelings have determined that this is likely due to a smaller and more primitive frontal lobe. Though they may lack strength, provoking a Faceling is inadvisable, and particularly so if more of them are close by. The entities become exceptionally aggressive if they notice any intentional attempt to harm another one of their kind. They will do anything in their power to defend each other, and especially to protect child Facelings. Facelings are also known to react more strongly if they possess close social or familial bonds to victims. Notably, child Facelings have been reported as the most aggressive and unstable during outbursts. Because their brain is even less developed, they lack the ability to regulate emotions at all, and are frequently unable to distinguish right from wrong. When upset, they immediately begin hitting and scratching anyone nearby, and may injure themselves in the process. Applying traditional techniques to calm human children appears effective. The following are records of encounters with a regular adult Faceling and child Faceling respectively. Both were taken for closer analysis and study of Faceling behavior. Location: Level 116. Agents in charge of encounter: Zayna Knight. Purpose of recording: analysis of adult Faceling behavior. Begin log. Agent Knight is visible, entering the ice rink with a pair of ice skates on her feet. The camera trembles slightly as Knight regains her balance. Various Facelings can be seen clumsily skating around the rink. The Facelings here are trying to skate, but some of them look to be struggling. As Agent Knight begins moving, a thud can be heard behind her. The camera rolls around to show an adult Faceling. It appears to have fallen to the ground after losing its balance. Ah! A Faceling fell down. Is it hurt? The agent moves toward the entity and helps it back on its feet. The Faceling grasps onto her arm for support. Here you go, buddy. Agent Knight waits for the Faceling to leave. Instead, the entity continues to hold onto her arm. Oh, you want me to help you skate? The Faceling is seen tightening its grip a little on the agent's arm. Its featureless face stares expectantly toward Knight, as if in an attempt to communicate an answer. I'll assume that's a yes? I'm not that great at skating, but I'll manage. The agent holds the Faceling's hand and remains close as the two begin skating. Over time, the creature seems to gain confidence. Its strides, at first tentative and nervous, become energetic and enthusiastic. Seems like you're getting it. I'll speed up now, don't fall behind. The two begin to twirl around the rink. Much to both their delight, Knight is eventually able to let go. Though it continues to jumble on occasion, the creature skates fairly competently on its own, as its companions continue to slip and slide around it. There you go, good job! The two continue to skate together, racing one another around the complex with glee. After about 10 minutes or so, Knight is satisfied, and directs the Facing to exit the rink. The agent helps the creature undo its laces, and the two head to place the ice skates back in the lockers. You seem to have fun back there. Huh, who knew that you guys could express yourselves in this way? The Facing is nodding repeatedly, apparently to indicate its happiness. I suppose my idea of teaching you all sign language wouldn't be that bad after all. Maybe you could learn to communicate better. I really should suggest this to the higher-ups. The camera shows Agent Knight as she makes her way to an exit. The Facing follows after her. As she turns to leave, it gently reaches out and tugs at her arm. Oh, do you want me to stay? There's a short pause. I'm really sorry, bud, but I can't stay. The Facing refuses to let go. Its head drops slightly, as if in disappointment. Aw, you guys really do get attached, huh? If I can come, I'll visit you and we can go skating again, okay? The Facing seems to understand. Tentatively, it lets go of the agent's arm, and steps back, somewhat reluctantly. Agent Knight waves, heading towards the exit. The Facing raises its arm, returning the gesture rather clumsily, as Agent Knight safely exits the level and returns to base. End log. Result. Upon Agent Knight's return, the footage was analyzed further. From what was observed, it appears the Facings are capable of learning and expressing themselves. Though these abilities appear limited, they are nevertheless more advanced than previously believed. Most notably, the specimen demonstrated that Facings can establish bonds with other beings besides themselves, and are able to understand and mimic human gestures. Agent Knight was allowed to return and interact with the Faceling and the recording on multiple further occasions. The Facing was observed to recognize her and exhibited affectionate behavior. Presently, the overseers are considering Knight's proposal to transport the Facings to Base Omega to teach it how to write and converse in sign language. It is noted that ex-agents have accomplished this before in past experiments. If Knight's experiment is approved and achieves success, it is likely to become a widespread initiative. Future reports on the Facing's progress will be updated here. Location: Level 6.1. Agents in charge of encounter: Grover Bryn. Purpose of recording: Analysis of child-facing behavior. Begin log. Agent Bryn showcases the environment of the level as he searches for a child facing around the area. For now, there are no child facings in sight. All I'm seeing are the guys working in the stores. The agent explores for another 10 minutes until he stumbles upon a child faceling. The creature is on the ground, kicking and punching the air in distress. Seems like this one is upset, but about what? There's a short pause. I'll see if I can calm it down, or at least try to examine the situation. Agent Bryn approaches the entity and gently lifts it up in his arms. As he attempts to communicate, he is seen stroking the entity's head softly. Hey kiddo, what's wrong? At first, the entity struggles and beats against Agent Bryn's shoulder with his tiny fists. As Bryn continues to reassure the child, it gradually begins to calm down. Eventually, it resorts to tugging at his sleeve, while gesturing toward a vending machine full of snacks. Oh, do you want some of those snacks? I'm guessing you don't know how to use the vending machine? There's a short pause. I'll get some sweets for you, kiddo. Though how you even eat them? The agent calmly presses a few buttons on the vending machine. The child facing claps its hands in delight as a few different snacks are dispensed. Bryn stoops down and retrieves them, placing them into the arms of the child. It seems satisfied. Guess she just wanted to hold him. Oh well, at the very least you seem calm now. You really do act just like a normal kid. Though you could really learn to control your temper. There's a short pause. I should probably report this back to base. Agent Bryn points the camera down to show the child facing hugging onto his leg. Agent Bryn attempts to gently remove its arms, but it refuses to let go. Seems like you won't let me go without you. Well, guess I'm a dad now. I'll have some explaining to do. Agent Bryn carries the child facing to the nearest exit, returning to base. End log. Results. Agent Bryn returned with the child faceling, naming her Alice. With approval from MAG Command, he has been raising it as his own. Recently, he has begun teaching her how to write, though she has yet to make noticeable progress. Even so, through his supervision, Alice seems to have become calmer and more well-adjusted, and much less prone to tantrums. Future progress will be recorded here in due time. Following these encounters, it soon became clear that Facings are capable of intelligent communication and social cooperation with humanity. An initiative to teach intelligent language to Facings has been approved, and is currently spearheaded by the recently promoted entity research specialist, Zaina Knight. Under the program, operatives have discovered that evolved specimens were able to learn sign language and writing much more quickly. Many are already able to communicate in this manner proficiently on their own. The initiative's next hope is to teach vocalization by using the alphabet, in the hopes of teaching these specimens to communicate with verbal human speech. It is believed that over the course of many years, with further evolution aided by such human intervention, the majority of evolved Facings will be able to speak in simple, coherent sentences. while their faceless counterparts will be able to fully comprehend sign language in writing. Do's and don'ts. Do. Treat facelings kindly and respect their boundaries. Attempt to communicate with them if you are in need. Most facelings are more than glad to offer what assistance they can. Report any sightings of new faceling variants. Don't taunt, provoke, or attack these entities. Present yourself as a threat when encountering facelings. Teach offensive words or terms to any faceling. This article is written by original co-authors Joe and Hire Being Love Serial, original collaborators Backrooms Explorers Reddit, and the author of the first rewrite, 1000 Dumplings, as well as the author of the current rewrite, Nikuchan, from the Backrooms Wiki.